And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. Now what? It seems that there should be fewer and fewer and fewer rather than more and more and more. We must have a little pump priming going on here. Right here.
Hey, good to be here. So I have a few topics. The first one is just kind of for fun. So the universe is expanding, yes?
Yes.
The universe is infinite, yes?
What do you mean by infinite?
Like never ending?
So that's where the expanding part comes in. Yes?
So that was my question.
Well, we're just teasing you because the words are a lot alike, aren't they? If it's infinite meaning everywhere or eternal or never ending,
yeah.
expanding, all wonderful words.
So,
each of them feeling rich and delicious and true.
Are they one and the same?
Different nuances, but essentially the same, yes.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask, how can we expand something that's already infinite?
Well, we saw that coming, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's because we're infinite.
That's right. Okay, so the next one is a big one for me, something I've been moving through for a long time that I'm at the tail end of, and I would love some coaching and some guidance from you on how to completely let that go, at least as much as I'm ready to, is caring about what other people think of me.
How's it working out?
Caring about what other people think of me? Not so well.
When it becomes painful enough that you actually do the work. In other words, because, well, here, let's talk about it in light of what we've been talking about here today. Because, of course, you know the answer is you just have to not give a rip what others think. And you've been hearing us for years talking about how you are born into this physical experience and there is this relationship between who you are and what you're allowing right now and who you really are and all that you are allowing, and everything you feel is about that relationship of that gap, blah, 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 blah. You've heard us say that many, 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 many times. But today we're talking about the power of upliftment, the power of influence, the power of manifestation, your ability to control your manifestations. So let's just approach this subject for just a little bit of time, just for fun, to see if there would be any value in uplifting someone to really get who you are. Is it possible that part of the reason that you feel uncomfortable about them not getting you is because if they're not in the vicinity, then they can't get the whole of you, which means they're really missing out on something good? It's a little bit like, consider this. Esther is over the moon about what she does. In other words, what a wonderful experience to be able to tune in to infinite intelligence and expand with all of these lovely co-creative partners. What could be more delicious than that? So she gets it. She knows it, she understands it, she feels it, she adores it. And every now and again, someone will introduce her to someone who doesn't know anything about her and try to explain what she does. And Esther will watch them sizing her up and taking a little distance. And she knows that they don't get her. So Esther's discomfort at their discomfort isn't because Esther gives a rip what they think, because Esther knows what's going on here. It's that it's just sort of unpleasant that in this moment that there is a vibrational variance that disallows full, lovely, co-creative, harmonic integration.
So is it just the difference in resonance of the energies that have come together?
Well, the thing about it is, it's like, would you suffer if you had your radio dial set on a different station than someone else? Would you feel that your radio was flawed because it was just tuned to a different frequency? So it helps to accept that there are different frequencies, and if someone doesn't get you or understand you or appreciate you, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them or with you. It just means it's different frequencies, and that's what makes the world go round.
Nice. Okay, good.
In other words, because you're way past, and this is what's bothering you about this question, you're way past caring what they think. You've already established your relationship with your vortex, and that's what's bothering you. You're wondering, why am I bothered when they don't get me? Why does that bother me? And it's because they're not getting a higher frequency. They're not getting an understanding of alignment. They're depriving themselves of a lot of fun that you've discovered. But isn't that always true? When you've discovered something wonderful, don't you want to uplift others to that discovery? Which comes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you're observing them not getting you, you can't inspire them to getting you. If you're feeling bad because they don't get you, you can't inspire them to getting you. But in the not caring whether they get you or not, then there's not any of that icky vibration present. And now you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on self, which will win them over. In other words, Peggy was a maniac flight attendant. And she won them all over. In other words, she was a crazy woman, behaving completely unprofessionally. And there's no one who was up close to her that wouldn't take her home and keep her forever if they could. In other words, you see what they didn't get her. They didn't get her. She didn't stand in the place that she should stand. She didn't hold the posture. She didn't hold the attitude. At one point, there was someone in the back of the plane who was using the F word. Imagine. And it was upsetting some people who apparently don't use the F word, which is harder to imagine. And they wanted them to get the air marshal to make them stop. And Peggy is saying they probably use the F word about their own grandchildren. Or when their own grandchildren are not around. And Esther is laughing because everything that she was saying was inappropriate, but really, 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 really funny. And so you get what we're getting at. In other words, she didn't care what anyone thought. She just beed who she was. And eventually, anyone who was in the vicinity was spun into her web of fun and upliftment in ways that most never have an opportunity to. You can't go to a comedy club and laugh that hard. The spontaneity of it, the integration of it, the co-creation of it, the amazing unfolding of it, the in the vortexness of it, the cooperative components of it. In other words, the fun and power that the vortex arranges defies anything that's canned or planned, you see. And that's what you can be everywhere you are, and people will either get you or they won't. But this new emphasis that we want to add is, if you don't care that they don't get you, but you know the possibility that they could get you, and so you don't let the fact that they're not getting you put you in an offensive position, but you just remain true to who you are, and expect to be able to rendezvous with anybody on some level. In other words, you are all more the same than you are different. There is a rendezvous point that is meaningful for you with everything. There is never a situation that you could not be in a moment of upliftment. You see.